Hi, and welcome to the Revive, Thrive, and Optimize podcast. I'm Billy Weeks, compounding pharmacist and health and wellness expert. Early this morning is still dark, but as always, across the table, my great co-host Janet, and behind the scenes, Mike.
This is the only thing I like to do in the mornings when it's dark. But I love coming here. Good morning, Mike and Billy and everybody, because I get to learn.
Yep.
And I just feel like I'm a lifelong learner. And, I know that I could be in a car accident and I could die tomorrow. I could have a heart attack today, but, or get a cancer diagnosis. But I feel like I'm able to feel good or feel better every day and live my best life because of the things that we're doing, things that I'm learning. And I guess what I really hope my legacy is that I can just maybe be an example for someone else who's struggling.
Yep.
So I also look at all the different problems and struggles that I go through as maybe, just to help somebody else. So thank you.
Well, you're welcome. And Janet, that's what, you say you're a lifelong, I think you said learner. Me too.
You are.
I'm trying to learn new stuff every day. And then I think that part of my mission is to make sure that other people get that information. Now, whether they take it and apply it or not, it's up to them. But, when you talk about you could get hit by a car and killed, and I could too, but the risk of us dying from the major causes of death is lower because of the things we do, and the studies certainly show that. But it doesn't mean we couldn't have a cancer diagnosis or a heart attack. It just means that we've done what science shows reduces the risk. But I think more importantly, what you said is you feel good, you look good, you can do the things that you want to do. And I call that health span, health span versus lifespan. So, as people sometimes live longer, they don't remember who their family is, or they can't get out of a chair, out of a bed, or whatever. And so that's a lifespan, but that's not a health span. That's just kind of surviving, right? Existing versus being able to go out and do the things that we enjoy doing. And so I hope that I know that we're able to increase our health span and be able to do things that people, and I'll use me and you as examples, as people that are our age can't go out and do some of the things we can do. And it's just because maybe they don't know, or maybe they made the wrong decisions. Maybe they've listened to the healthcare system that's given them, I think, poor advice, or there's a lot of reasons, but the body is amazing and can come back and do a lot of things, as we learned this weekend from some of the people who were at the summit last year and who wanted to come back and bring their family this year, right?
Well, speaking of the summit, I would like our topic this morning to be highlights from the annual 2026 Wellness Summit, which was last weekend, of course.
Yeah.
And honestly, Billy, when I left, I felt like my brain was exploding, and then I felt like my brain was really tired for 2 days, because how you have so much of that information in your head is beyond the capacity of what my brain could remember. So I'm not sure if it was the 10th or 11th time that I've taken it.
Right.
But I just learned so many new things each year, and it goes to a deeper level. And what I love about it is that in the room last weekend, we had people from North Carolina, South Carolina, Atlanta, Georgia, Baton Rouge, Louisiana.
Yep.
People come from all around. So many people were there who have been through the course before, who wanted to learn more. There were people there because they just got a cancer diagnosis, or there was somebody there because he's a biohacker and he's all about longevity. And there's just so many different reasons to come. But someone who stood out to me the most was a man who was there last year, and it was his first time, and he came back with his family this year, and he had lost 70 plus pounds.
74 pounds of fat in 1 year.
74 pounds
And,
of fat.
Janet, even more impressive to me is the fact that he was a type 2 diabetic. He was on 29 insulin shots a week, and he was on 14 different prescription meds daily.
And how old is he about?
I think
In his 60s?
late 60s, middle to late 60s.
That's incredible.
The crazy thing is, and I tell everybody, I'm not your doctor. Don't stop taking your meds because of me, or stop using your insulin. But when he heard the teaching from the summit that I do last January, he decided to stop all his insulin and all his meds.
He became the CEO of his own health.
He did. And he had never had a normal A1C after 30 plus years with the endocrinologist he was going to. He had never had normal high blood pressure. He had never felt good. He always hurt and was inflamed. And now, 74 pounds of fat later, no muscle loss.
Feels good enough to walk every day now.
Yeah, he walks every day with his daughter.
That's awesome.
He is, he's off all meds. He's off all insulin. He's only doing the Opti supplements and I mean, a regimen of supplements that we have him on. And he just feels, again, that health span. He feels like doing things. He feels like going out and walking with his daughter. And yeah, it was cool because now he brought his wife and daughter to learn so that they could see. I mean, they've obviously seen the changes in him, but now they understand it, and hopefully they will start to implement a lot of things that he's been doing for the last 12
it's like
months.
they were supporting him. Now he's supporting them. And I didn't recognize him. He
I
looked
didn't
like
either.
a different person.
Yeah.
And not just in his physical form, but he was a different person from the inside out.
Yeah.
And you could see he was happier, had more energy, less inflammation, and, should be really proud of himself.
He absolutely should be proud of himself. And I'll never forget, Janet, and I told this during the summit, he looked at me last year and he told me, he said, I'll do everything you say. And he has done that. He has absolutely done everything that he learned in the weekend and everything. We did a one-on-one consultation and he's done every single bit of it. And he's done it 100%. Like he told me, he said, Billy, I haven't eaten one thing that you talked about not eating.
Wow.
And so
great.
he is a great example of what we talk about, Janet. Type 2 diabetes should never exist. And I know it's
hard,
supposedly controversial, but it's really not. It's very easy to correct when you know what to do and you're willing to do it. And he is a shining light of that.
And so many people out there don't even know that they even have type 2 diabetes or they're on their way. They've got the insulin resistance and they're maybe 10 years before they get diagnosed.
Yeah.
Trending in the wrong direction.
Yeah.
And, before we go on a little bit further, you said something about he said he was going to listen to you and do everything you said. And so I just want to shout out again what some of your experience is, because yes, you're a pharmacist and a compounding pharmacist, and you've been doing that over 30, 35 years. But you've also really dove in and studied for over 20, 25 years in hormone replacement therapy with WorldLink Medical. You've studied anti-aging and longevity and all that with the American Anti-Aging Academy, the A4M. Let's see if I can remember what else you've done. You're with the International Peptide Society. You know how to reconstitute and, everything about peptides. But that's kind of a new subject, but you've been doing it for 20-something years, right?
We've been using peptides for a while.
Right, for a long time,
yes.
And bioregulators. And so some of this new science and new biohacking and things that people are talking about, and tracking and all this stuff, you've not only been doing it, but you've been helping other people track it and seeing the results. And so, some of the Gary Breckas and Peter Attias and people that are out there, you've been doing it longer than they have. And so that is a reason to listen to you, and you have so much experience. I know I'm leaving a bunch of stuff out. Also, you've written a book, you're writing a second book, and you teach at several local universities, and you have your fellowship in metabolic and nutritional medicine from the University of South Florida Medical School. So the list goes on and on about your experience. And coming for that weekend and learning about our body physiology is something you can't learn in one weekend. So I hope people will come next year. I hope more people will come back. And all the people that were there that have taken the class before have texted me this week and just they were like, oh my God, I can't believe how much more I learned this year.
Yeah.
So thank you. It was a fun weekend. And let's talk about some other things that were highlights.
Well, I think about that and what you're talking about. I had 3 or 4 different couples come up that this was their second year of coming to the weekend. And they said exactly what you said is, wow, we thought we learned a lot last year, but this year we're
Yeah.
really, because I think there's so much information that you get what you get the first year, and then the second year you're more prepared and you can get even more, and the third year even more. And so that's why, probably half the attendees were past attendees.
Yes.
And some of them multiple double-digit years, and some of them third, fourth year.
And some of the people are people, maybe they didn't do the summit last year or the year before, but they're already working with you one-on-one, doing consultations, taking your supplements, things like that. So, someone did say to me, well, there's a few things that I think he skipped over. And I said, no, it's because he knew how to read the room, and these people are already learning this stuff.
Well, and the questions that come up lead to different topics.
Yeah.
And that's the beauty of not being so structured, rigid that I can't go, okay, you want to know about osteoporosis? We'll go there. You want to know, and maybe that wasn't on the top of my mind to do, but that question came up. And so we spent, I don't know, 20, 30 minutes on why we do the wrong test, how we treat it wrong, how we actually lead to more fractures with the treatment, kind of like type 2 diabetes, how the treatment leads to more type 2 diabetes. So, I think so, Janet. And I think that's a good point, is not all the topics are 100% the same based off the questions that come up.
Right. And that's kind of what we try to do here. So send in your questions. We just love to, I love to bring Billy questions first thing in the morning. And he's like, I walk in the door, he's like, what are we going to talk about? And I'm like, get ready. So one of the highlights for me, and it's always a highlight for me, is the Kangen water demo.
Yeah.
And I can't tell you, let's see, got my first Kangen machine in 2007, and I've seen the demo done a million times.
Yeah.
But when Johnny comes from Charleston and does the demo, there's several aha moments each time. And one of them for me is that if you follow a lot of podcasts and biohackers, everybody's talking about hydrogen water. And so I've been thinking, well, maybe should I be drinking hydrogen water instead of the Kangen water? And then, another thing that comes up is reverse osmosis. A lot of my friends have decided that they're only going to drink reverse osmosis. And they go and take their big 5-gallon jugs to Whole Foods, and that's what they drink. So can you talk a little bit about what's the difference in Kangen water, hydrogen water, and reverse osmosis water?
Absolutely. So first of all, shout out to Johnny Z.
Yes,
because
Johnny Z.
Now that he does the demo, number one, he does an unbelievable job.
He's a scientist or something, right?
He's he's an engineer.
Engineer.
Yeah, so he does a phenomenal job with that. And number two, it just gives me a minute to
take a breath,
take a little bit of a breath, let my voice relax, just kind of chill while he does the demo. And then he and I kind of do the rest of that class, but together. But that's been a big help. So thank you, Johnny. So the thing about Kangen water is that it is hydrogen water. It is high hydrogen water.
That's where it was ding, ding, ding. It's like, oh, it is hydrogen water.
But when I started learning about Kangen water, I don't know, 25 years ago or so now, hydrogen water was not really a term that you ever heard talked about. So we never called it hydrogen water, although it was always making higher hydrogen water. We talked about alkalinity. We talked about oxidation potential, antioxidant potential. We talked about the smaller water molecule, how it splits the water molecule from H2O to H2O2.
Because it's a restructured.
It's water. A restructured water, but in that entire medical device process, because the Kangen water machine is an approved medical device in Japan, not in the United States, it actually does put hydrogen in the water. And if you look, when you first make fresh 9.5 water out of the machine, you'll see bubbles, and that is the hydrogen in the water. So that just was not a popular term. It wasn't a buzzword until the last, I don't know, maybe decade. It became a buzzword. So now we try to always point out in the Kangen water stuff that we teach that it is hydrogen water because that has become a buzz term today.
And since we did say bubbles in the water, we are not talking about carbonated.
It's not carbonated,
like
no,
soda water
no.
at all.
It's through the ionization, it's
Machine,
through the restructuring of the water that creates the hydrogen, creates the antioxidant potential, and it creates the smaller water molecule, and it creates an alkaline water.
And that smaller water molecule can get into our cell or get through the cell wall so much easier.
It penetrates the cells.
Yeah.
There's a study,
We're more
Janet,
hydrated.
There's some research, and I can't remember the exact data, but Kangen water hydrates the brain in like a lot less time, crosses the blood-brain barrier and hydrates the brain in a lot less time than conventional waters, like you talk about reverse osmosis or tap water.
And you said our brain is made of how much water?
Our brain is about 70% water.
Wow.
Yeah. So very important that the brain is properly hydrated.
Yeah.
And now you ask about reverse
osmosis. All right.
So
I hear that is dead water.
If they're your friends, you should highly encourage them, and I know you do. You should highly encourage them not to do that.
Yeah.
And because reverse osmosis is dead water. Now, I get the concept that they're trying to get all the toxic ingredients out.
Because it filters everything
It does.
out.
Reverse osmosis is a very powerful system to filtrate water. It's a filtration system. The problem is, in doing so, reverse osmosis takes out the minerals.
Right.
Which now makes that water very acidic, which is very damaging.
I did not know that reverse osmosis water was very acidic.
Reverse osmosis water has no minerals left, which are part of why water is alkaline, should be alkaline. Okay. It also makes it very oxidizing. So there was
That means it ages you.
That's correct. It damages your cells. Just think rust on a nail. Reverse osmosis water is a very powerful oxidant. So we want a lot of antioxidants and we want alkalinity. And reverse osmosis is the opposite of those things. So we know that reverse osmosis water will cause the body to have to steal minerals, calcium monophosphate, from the joints and the bones.
And the teeth.
Or I should say the bones and the joints and the teeth, yes. And so it can lead to more osteoporosis, more osteopenia. The acidic nature of that can lead to everything. I mean, I'm not saying reverse osmosis causes these things, but it puts our body in an environment for more cancers, for more disease, for more bacteria, for more, viruses and parasites and all those things.
Wow.
Because an acidic environment is a sick environment, and an alkaline environment, the tissues of our body need to be slightly alkaline. The blood of our body needs to be slightly alkaline in order for our body to function at its best. And so when you drink reverse osmosis water, you're drinking dead water. It's not alive. And when I say alive, it's not going to help us be alive for a longer amount of time.
Yeah. Well,
so we need to know the difference between filtration and ionization, and Kangen is an ionizer. Now the problem is, if you take and try to do reverse osmosis and then send it to the Kangen machine can't ionize it because the minerals are gone. So one of the things that the Kangen water uses, or that the medical device uses, is the minerals that are in the water to create the ionized, restructured, high hydrogen water. And so people will say, well, I'll run it through reverse osmosis and then through my Kangen machine. Well, you can do that,
but it's not going.
But you're not going to get Kangen water at that point.
Right.
And Janet, I think even more problematic is all these companies, and we, in the demo, Johnny shows some of them that say they have alkaline ionized water, and we show you that it's very oxidized and it might be alkaline. But the hydrogen cannot survive in that cheap plastic over time. Right. I mean, we even know from the studies that a PhD from Cornell University did for me, that Dr. Donaldson's his name, that Kangen water freshly made will only maintain that hydrogen for 72 hours.
Right.
And that means that the fresher the water, the more antioxidant it is.
Which
And
is
as
why I
time
want it
goes-
coming right out of my sink in my house.
Correct. Which is why people say, do you keep any in the fridge? I don't. I get it right out of the machine. But now I'm not a cold water drinker either.
Me
There's
either.
nothing wrong with doing that. It's just that, 24 hours later, it has less hydrogen, less antioxidant potential. 48 hours later, it has less. And after 72, it's basically gone. That doesn't mean that there's anything wrong with the water. It just means that hydrogen is a gas and it dissipates and it doesn't stay there long term.
Well, and we were able to show some of the fancy, higher priced water that you can buy.
Yeah, it doesn't work.
That says
Yeah.
high alkaline and all that kind of stuff, that once they tested it with the meter,
Yeah.
it was very acidic.
Well, it's oxidizing.
It was oxidized.
That's the biggest problem is it's oxidizing. So think of that again, that damaging, rusting,
Rusty
aging our
nail.
cells, which is the very same process that people get with reverse osmosis,
osmosis.
unfortunately, which is why it's called dead water by a lot of scientists.
Well, I will talk to my friends about that. And then what I'd like to talk to some of my kids about, and, it was another wake-up call for me, was how bad just soda water is. Just,
Oh.
regular waters. Maybe they're they got a little fruit flavor or something, and they have no calories and they don't have any sugar, but how oxidizing those are.
Well, carbonation
Carbonation.
anything that's carbonated
Anything
is
carbonated.
going to be very
acidic.
oxidizing because it is, anacidic. Because just the process of carbonating something just leads to acidity and oxidation.
Which leads to what you just brought up earlier, which is osteoporosis.
Correct. It does. That's, again, the calcium monophosphate. The way I teach it is if you are drinking a soft drink or a carbonated water or whatever,
I know what you're
you
gonna
should
say.
listen for the sucking sound of the minerals coming out of your bones and
bones.
joints because that's what's happening, unfortunately.
Well, it's funny,
And
but-
unfortunately, it's the same thing with that reverse osmosis.
It's funny because I heard RFK talking about what does Trump eat and drink.
Yeah.
And
It's not real healthy.
Said, I don't know how this man has so much energy. He doesn't sleep. He drinks Diet Coke all
Yeah.
day and he eats McDonald's. And I was just like,
Yeah.
oh my gosh.
I would say he's the exception to
Yeah.
the rule to be
Yeah.
able to perform
right.
at a level with apparently not a lot of sleep.
Right.
He is an unusual case in that respect that is able to perform.
I just thought that
like
was funny. I think I would get mad if somebody shared on national news that she's drinking Diet Coke.
Yeah.
And
Well, I don't think he's ashamed of it. I mean, I think that's what he's probably done for the past many, many decades, and that's just what he does.
I had a friend that owned a friend that was a dietitian, and she owned a wellness company, and her kids had never ever had a soft drink or fast
Right.
food, and I think she had 4 kids, and one day she was in her van, and all 4 kids were just like, "Mom, just we want to go to McDonald's, we want to go to McDonald's," and all our friends go to McDonald's, and just to get them to be quiet. All right, just this once, we're going to McDonald's. And she
Yeah.
pulls into the drive-thru, orders McDonald's, and then gets rear-ended in the drive-thru. Has to sit there while the police come and all this kind
Everybody's
of stuff.
filming her
And
at
then,
McDonald's, yeah.
and luckily it was before we had a lot of camera phones out there, but it kind of went viral as it could go.
Yeah.
And there she is, at the McDonald's drive-thru. And I just thought that was hilarious. But anyway... Okay, we got that about water. We got some stuff about osteoporosis. Another thing that stuck out the most to me in the weekend was the data you had regarding children as young as 6 and 8-year-old children now starting to get heart disease. They're seeing lipid panels on kids that they shouldn't see until they're adults. They are already having coronary calcium in their arteries as young as 8 to 10-year-olds.
Yeah.
What is going on?
Well,
and maybe it
Janet,
has something to do with McDonald's.
it may be the Trump diet. No, it's processed foods.
Yeah,
And
it's
so
seed
it's
oils.
insulin, seed oils. And so, 25% of children in the United States today are obese. And
That's 1 in 4.
1 in 4, and 50% of teens are overweight or obese. So when you think about that, and they are finding plaque and different things in very young children that you would not expect to see. And it's just simply that, I mean, and not intentionally. I don't say this that any parent is doing this intentionally, but they are literally having their children poisoned
And they don't know.
by these processed foods. And they don't know. It's not intentional, certainly. But when you eat processed food, so not real food.
So
and
that's
it's full
anything
of
in a package,
box,
in
a
a
bag, a
box,
can.
wrapped up in
Yeah.
a can,
Fast
frozen,
food.
fast
Yeah.
food, any of that.
And when you think about that, they're all almost all filled with seed oils, so canola, soybean, corn oil. I'm sure I'm missing some big ones, but those things are very oxidizing. They're very damaging. They're very processed. They're high heated. They're deodorized. They're not meant for human consumption. They're really not. And unfortunately, the powers that be in the quote, medical world, the heart people and the diabetes people and the dietitians and the nutritionists, for the most part, are trained to tell people, the doctors are trained to tell people to eat more canola oil, eat more corn oil, eat more soybean oil.
That's why my
despite
brain
the
was
facts
exploding.
that they lead to more heart disease
And diabetes.
and obesity and all the things. They actually have shown that seed oils change the type of fat that our bodies make. It changes the content of the fat, and it makes it very hard for the body to burn that fat
So
off.
is that making more
It's making
visceral fat or
bigger fat cells, visceral and fat cells that we see both. Yes. So it's a real tragedy because the food companies, unfortunately, I think, own or control, I should say, the guidelines often from like the American Heart Association or the American Diabetes Association. And so these things are what is pushed, and then that's what's taught in medical schools because they're sponsored by the food companies and the drug companies. And so people think that's what we should do. We shouldn't eat butter. It'll run our cholesterol up. We shouldn't use beef tallow. It'll run our cholesterol up. And so
it's just the opposite.
We just have this society that is full of processed foods. It's quick. You said even the nutritionist, her 4 kids are yelling, I want to go to McDonald's, and she goes through the drive-through. So,
and they engineer it to be addictive. So,
well, it's definitely engineered to be addictive by the former cigarette scientists.
R.J. Reynolds.
Yeah, that learned to make cigarettes addictive, and they learned to make food addictive, and they continue to do so. So the bottom line is these children and teenagers are literally being poisoned by the things that they're eating, and it does not have to be that way. By the way, the teen obesity rate and overweight and obesity rate in Japan is 3%. Now, remember this.
And
in America, it's 50. Think about that. So 1 in 2 teenagers who typically, when I think back to my days as a teenager, everybody was pretty thin no matter what they were eating. They were eating
even if you were eating fast food,
McDonald's,
it didn't have the bad stuff in it.
and Little Debbie cakes. They were still thin. Because back then they didn't have the same ingredients in either. They weren't as toxic as they are now. They weren't as full of things as they are now. And people were more active. And so, we weren't exposed to all the chemicals that we're exposed to now.
Hormones,
the atrazine, the glyphosate,
the plastics.
The plastics in
the EMFs.
Receipts. Yeah, so it's a different world, right? And that's what we talk about with hormones. It's a different world. It's a different world for kids coming up today.
So even if you're a young mom, you can't feed your kids what you ate. It's so different.
The ingredients have changed dramatically in that. So real food, I mean, we're talking go to the store and buy real food that will spoil if you don't use it in a reasonable amount of time, and prepare it. And that's not, number one, it's not hard and it's not that time consuming. But I get it that everybody's rushed and everybody is under pressure. I understand. But you can make really quality, healthy, great tasting meals in, I think, a lot of cases in the same amount of time that you sit at the drive-thru
that's true.
at a fast food joint like McDonald's waiting on it.
I spend 10 minutes in the grocery store and probably 15 minutes cooking, and we eat great. And I think we have to wrap up this episode. And I have so many more highlights from last weekend. So let's do a part 2.
Okay, awesome. See you next week.
Thank you.
Bye.